Hey, my beautiful people. Ooh, I pray that y'all are having a wonderful day thus far. Being good to you, treating yourself right, being nice to yourself, speaking good to yourself, giving yourself some pampering and some love, because you are more than worthy and deserving. This is something that, this is another messaging that came to me and that I am called to broadcast and share. When we come into this world, when we are born, when we are conceived, when we come to form, my God, look at God shining on me always. Ooh, God always shining on me, baby, and trust and believe. I count my blessings. Ooh, yes, I do. Thank you, Lord, for loving me the way that you do. And when we come into this world, my God already has a plan, a purpose, and a blueprint for our life, and when we come into this world, we all come from and are raised in different families, different environments. Hi, baby, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hi, beautiful. Hi. We all come, hey, how you doing, baby? We all come from different experiences, different situations, different circumstances. So we're born with our blueprint and purpose intact. And then as we grow up in different families of imperfect people, that are doing the best that they can based off of their traumas, their history, their experiences, their unhealed parts, their unaddressed situations and circumstances, to the places and spaces in their life that they didn't speak to. So we come into these families, and then there is guidelines or specific ways in which each family thinks that we should act and present ourselves, or how we should be in our becoming and growing up, because they always want us to put our best foot forward, and we are a representation of them. So in the process of us growing up in different situations, circumstances, environments, exposures, experiences, people, there's so many things that come into play, but we start to take on this programming. If you're told you're too much, or you talk too much, or you're too loud, or you're too hyper, or you're too this, settle down, calm down, be quiet, this, we start taking on all of this programming from families who, for the most part, at the heart of it, have our best intent at heart. For the most part, want the best for us. Yet they are flawed. They are imperfect, even though we hold them in high regard, even though we hold them on pedestals. Oh, look at God shining on me. Oh, thank you, Lord, for loving me the way that only you do. And they have their own insecurities. They have their own hindrances and mind fucks and so many other things that we don't necessarily know about, because they don't always speak to their hurts, to their pains, to their failures, to their disappointments. A lot of the time they sacrifice themselves at the expense of themselves so that we can have. They give up their dreams and their desires to become what other people need. And they grind, they hustle, they try to give you the best. And at the end of the day, they're not being true to them. They're not living the life that God intended for them to live. They are too operating and acting out of the programming that was embedded in them through their life experiences. So as we grow, we take on this programming, we take on these labels assigned, we take on these stories from families, from friend groups, from social settings, schools, from clubs, from different things, And another thing, like when you already feel bad about something in yourself, depending on your experiences, if they don't happen for you or if they don't come to fruition, then that underline confirms that you're what you've already been feeling. You're not worthy of the victory. You're not enough. You don't fit in. And I say this to be, look, y'all know I used to want to be a model back in the day, but I've always been a big girl models. Look, that's just now a thing that's coming, that's being accepted. That has never been the standard of beauty, or the societal standard was being bigger was accepted. You had to be paper thin. You had to be anorexic thin. You had to, by any means, over-exercise, starve yourself, having food and disorders and bulimia. There's so many things that people suffered with trying to trying to fit the standard of what society told them they have to be. And this, back in the day, they used to have this thing called Barbizon modeling. And I remember going there. I remember my mom taking me there for like an interview, or because you have to go through this process. And they ultimately, because this was back in the day when you had to be paper thin, your hips popping out and your spine, the ridges in your spine showing, to be model fine according to the societal standard, which is what it was, and what people strived to be and strive to attain, which then became the rage with all of the diet and the weight loss and all of these quick fixes to get down, because people did not accept themselves because they didn't feel good enough, and they did everything that they had to do to meet the societal standard, including myself. So I said all that to say, I went to this Barbizon modeling, this appointment that we had, and they ultimately told me that I was too big. I didn't fit the bill. And then, like I say, that just reinforced and confirmed the lack of self-worth, the lack of value, the lack of that I was an issue, my weight was an issue. And also, like I say, being an emotional eater, I've gone through so many things. I've done every diet fad. I've done every exercise. I've done every diet plan. And again, you're gonna get temporary results with anything that you do. You're gonna get some results if you're dedicated. However, they're not gonna be long-term sustaining, because you are still functioning in your old programming, your old thoughts, still carrying the identity and the things that you define yourself by. So this reinforced for me that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't enough. The lack of, hey, how y'all doing? I'm fine, count my blessings, thank you. This confirmed for me that I wasn't worthy, wasn't enough, didn't have no value, didn't have no value, wasn't meant to fit societal standards, wasn't like, so it just really plays in the negative that you already feel for yourself whenever you try for something and it doesn't go your way. It reinforces the programming that you grew up to believe, the stories that you tell yourself, the mindset you're carrying around. the labels you assign to, and the things that you define yourself by. And at the end of, God is always shining on me wherever I go, baby. I'm telling you. And I call my God out everywhere. Look at that beauty. Oh, look at that sky. Thank you for shining on me, God. Thank you for the blessing and the radiance and the love. So I'm finally making it back to my house. But so it confirms what you already feel bad about. It confirms the lack. It confirms the mindset and the things that you've already believed about yourself. So we are born with our blueprint and our plan and the purpose that God has for our life. We get thrown off a track because of the programming that we take on through life, our experiences, environments, family situations, circumstances. And we can stay stuck in that programming. We can make choices for ourselves from that programming. We can not feel the best about ourselves, not love ourselves, not be good to ourselves, not value ourselves, and so much more. We get caught up in life, and the programming really becomes and defines who we are. And one thing, and I lived in that horrendous, that dark, that terrible, that performative, that wearing armor, never, not trusting, not belonging, the pain, the shame, the guilt, the lack, the poverty consciousness, the not feeling worthy or enough to receive, not always feeling like I had to shapeshift and adjust to appease other people and to fit in. I got caught up. That's acceleration of my blessings. It's coming, baby. I got caught up in my blessings and my miracle. I got caught up in staying attached to that programming, defining myself by it. It is also the things that it also is reflective of the things that I called into my life, the relationships that I had, the treatment that I accepted, and so many other things. And I did that for 46 years. I wore the armor. I was afraid of the dark that was in me. I carried it. And everything else, I defined myself. I felt pain every day. I didn't know life wasn't supposed to be pain. I wore it like a second skin. And when I started my healing, my therapy, drawing closer to my God and understanding the original blueprint that God had for me, my original plan and purpose before the programming set in and I started operating out of that programming, I am understanding my identity in God. I am understanding my soul's purpose. I am understanding the mantle and the destiny that God has for me to carry. And in order to have this level of understanding, you have to speak to those hurt parts, those inadequacies. You have to dismantle the old programming and the beliefs and the things that you took on, the things that you carried, the things that were assigned to you, the things that you are carrying that doesn't belong to you. You have to speak to those fears. You have to speak to those hurts. You have to speak to those pains. You have to go in your darkness and face those monsters. Look, head to head, toe to toe. You have to face them. You have to speak to them. You have to release them with love and compassion. You have to forgive everybody that has trespassed against you, that has done you wrong, or who have even given you false information, because a lot of the times, sometimes people's false information doesn't come out of being intentionally wicked or harmful or wanting the worst for you. Sometimes, like I say, their false information comes out of their programming and the things that they believe. So if they believe it is the truth, they're passing on what they think is the truth. But again, it is coming from their programming, and we each have our own. One is not better than the other. We are all unique. We are all individual. And every one of us have a purpose out here that God intended for us to carry out in this world. It is our responsibility to heal, to address those things, to face those things, to face the darkness so that we're no longer afraid, to love ourselves wholly, completely, and unapologetically, without shame or without guilt or without thinking that it's selfish, because it's not. Self-love is paramount. In order for you to fully step in God's purpose and the plan that God has for you, you have to physically, emotionally, spiritually be ready to carry that mantle. And if you are not prepared in one way or another, God is not going to place something on you that you are not equipped to handle. So there is work, there is effort. It is hard. Ooh, it is hard. It is not easy. It is not for the faint of heart. But when you choose you, and when you put in those efforts for you, when you love you, when you are good to you, when you are fighting for you, when you are making you a priority, when you are making you a non-negotiable, when you are okay with your boundaries and limited access and knowing your worth and your value without the shame or the guilt, without not needing people's validation, without other people's opinions, because people are only going to speak to what they understand. And if they don't understand, again, they're speaking to you out of their programming. And your purpose, your blueprint, your plan that God has for you in this world, it's yours. Nobody can understand that. Nobody's going to get it. Nobody is going to be able to speak to that. As long as you know what it is, you are exactly who you think you are. So trust yourself, believe yourself, heal yourself, be good to yourself, love yourself, and know that you are more than worthy, more than enough, more than capable to step in to the blueprint and the purpose and the destiny that God has for your life. But you have to get out of your own way. You have to stop feeding yourself those old narratives and rerunning those programs in your head. And it, like I say, to change and to dismantle the programming is not easy, but it is necessary. And once you do it, there is you no longer become performative. You no longer care what people think. You become true to yourself, authentically who you are meant to be in this world. And for me, being broken to be rebuilt, God had to teach me how to stand in my authority, in my power. I walk in power. I know who I am. I walk with my chin up, my shoulders back. I know that when I walk in a place, I'm not alone. I got my God and my whole spirit team with me. So I'm never alone. So I walk in power. I walk in authority. I walk in the purpose with intention, with love, not playing games about myself. You know what I'm saying? And I know any place that God takes me, I am meant to be there. So those feelings of, oh, I don't feel good or worthy to be in this room. Look, even if I'm stepping in the room with kings and queens, because I will, let me tell you that, because I am, that's destined for me. Even if I'm stepping in the room with kings and queens, I'm not going to feel insecure. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not supposed to be there. Baby, I'm going to stand firm in my power and authority, boldly and confidently, represent myself authentically, fully, and always be true to me while I shine and am a living example and vessel and representation of who my God is. Because I know if God called me to a place, God has already went ahead and prepared that place for me. So if I'm standing there, you best damn well believe I'm supposed to be there, and I will act as such. No shrinking, no dimming my light, being my full, amazing, authentic, true to me self always. So work on that programming, heal you, love you, figure out your purpose and your reason, and step into your destiny, because that's what's meant for you. You are meant to leave your mark on the world. So put in those efforts. Do what you need to do. Get out of your own way to make it happen. Not only to honor yourself, but to honor the God who created you and had a plan for you from the very beginning. Find your purpose. Live in it. Step in it boldly and confidently.
Woo! Bye.